Alright, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Website Development Program, and in particular the AWD1100 C# Programming Fundamentals class, I have been going through a series of video presentations that are based off of the book that will be used for the class, as you can see here, Muroc C# 2015. So far I've gone through the first 5 chapters, and after Chapter 3, after Chapter 4, and now after Chapter 5, I've been creating or working with a perpetual payroll program. And I had done the first part of the payroll program, and then I ran into problems. And I'm still not exactly sure why, but I think somehow I brought up an old copy. And I don't even know exactly what I did, but I was screwing that up. All right. So if you look in here, what you're going to see now is min hours, min rate, and max rate are now being used. The max non-OT hours is still not being used. Okay. We're going to work on that in the next iteration. Okay. And I've got some variables in here, first name, last name, etc. All right. And really, I guess I don't even need a first name or a last name, to be honest with you, because I can just, they're string values, so I can work with what I've got. So I can, let's see, get rid of that then, and I can get rid of this. So I've gotten it to work now, and that's the good news. Bad news is it took a lot longer than I wanted it to, but I've now gone through and I put in validation. And hopefully you're going to start to see some of the problems with the way this code is currently written. First of all, it's upwards of 200 lines. Okay? But we get into our button calculate routine, and notice what we do. We first want to validate, make sure that the first name is not blank. So I'm checking literally right there. This is the problem. I've got sometimes 2 things open at once. So let me... Okay. So I'm in here, and part of the problem is I want to make sure that isn't blank, that isn't blank, that isn't blank, and that isn't blank. In addition, this field should be validated to make sure that it's numeric and that it is not less than 0 or greater than 84. This field should be validated to make sure that it is indeed numeric and that it's between 0 and 250. Only if all 4 of these things are true should I actually create the gross pay and keep going on. So to show you, hopefully fairly quickly, how I did that, I've got these 3 variables: hours worked, which represents the hours worked, hourly rate, which represents the hourly rate, and gross pay. Now again, I removed the local variables I created for first name and last name because I can do all the work right here. So literally what this says is if the first name has nothing in it, give me a message box that says first name blank and that has a title invalid first name. All right, I could change that. Probably would be better to blank first name, an OK button, and a warning. Then set the focus and get the heck out. Then do the same exact thing with the last name. In other words, check to see if it's empty. Bring up a message box with that text and that title. All right, an OK button and a warning. Put the focus back and return. So if I get down, if that if is not true, and I get down to here, there was something in the name field. I'm not checking to make sure it's alphabetic or whatever. I'm just checking to make sure there's something in there. If I get down to here, right there, then it means there was something in the first name and in the last name field. Okay? Then if I get down to here, one thing you do not have, with C# is a built-in function that checks if something is numeric or not numeric. That's the bad news. The good news is you can write your own with very little bit of code. And that's what I did. All right? Excuse me. So, I came through here and I said, if it's not numeric, and what is that? We're going to talk about this more in the next chapter, but here, the entire numeric function is right here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. It's 5 lines. 2 of the 5 lines are curly braces. 1 of the 5 lines is the function definition. What this says is, pass in some kind of a value. Attempt to take that value that you passed in and parse it. All right, I don't know, is there a decimal dot parse? So, well, I'm going to make that a double anyway. All right, it doesn't like it like that. So, if the number cannot be converted, or if the value that was passed in cannot be converted to a number, you'll return false. If it can be converted to a number, you'll return true. All right? So, if it returns false, give a message that says hours worked blank, and we'll change this again to blank, hours worked. All right? We don't even have to reset the hours worked text because it's already blank. I'm sorry, that's non-numeric. In fact, let's change that to this. Non-numeric hours worked. All right, so that's non-numeric. So get rid of what was in there, set the focus, and get out. Otherwise, you know there was a number in there. You don't know yet if it's a valid number or not, but it was a valid number. So set the variable hours worked to that number, then check, and if it was less than 0 or it was greater than 84, give them a message that says it was out of range, clear it out, set the focus, and get out. Then do the same thing with the hourly rate. If the hourly rate is not numeric, if that's the case, you again give them a message, non-numeric, hourly rate, okay? You remove whatever's there, you set the focus, and you get out. Otherwise, you know they've put a number in. But you check to make sure that if it's less than 0 or it's greater than 250, you give them, again, an out-of-range error. You clear out what was in there, you set the focus, and you get out. Only if you get down to right here, line 114, this blank line, if you get down to that line, what that means is you put in something for the first name, you put in something for the last name, you put a value between 0 and 84 in for the hours worked, you put a value between 0 and 250 in for the hourly rate. So you can now figure out the gross pay and do all the other good stuff that we were doing before. So to test this, let's save and run it. Now, I'm going to hit the button, and since there's nothing in here, I should get a message that says something like blank first name. First name blank, blank first name. Okay, and it puts the cursor right back there. So Jeff. Now when I click it again, I should get something that says blank last name. And I do. So I'll come back in here and I'll put in Scott. Then I'll come in here and I'll say nothing for this. So I should get a non-numeric hours worked. And I do. It's the same thing as if I put in garbage. Again, non-numeric clears it out. So if I put in a number that's greater than 84, let's put 84.1. That's out of range. So hours worked out of range, less than 0 or greater than 84. If I put in a negative number, it again fails. But finally, if I put in a positive number, 40. Now when I go through, I should have to run through the same tests here for hourly rate. All right, non-numeric. Again, non-numeric. A number less than 0. A number greater than 250. All right. Now if I put in 20, this should work because I put in a value for first name, I put in a value for last name, the hours worked is numeric and within range between 0 and 84, the hourly rate is valid, it's numeric, and it's between 0 and 250. So this should work. It does. So I can put in again as we did before right now. So let's see. Let's 800 and let's just put in 100. So Bob Jones. Bob worked 10 hours and makes $10 an hour. This should change to 2, 900, and 450. And it does. Everything is copacetic, as they say. Everything is now working. Hopefully one of the things that you realized is I've got a lot of code that's very similar. This message box here, there's one here, and they're almost the same thing. So in the next chapter, what I am going to do in the next chapter, chapter 6, is we're going to talk about how you can come in and write what are called methods or functions, all right, to make your code work a little bit better. So I will come back with that lecture in just a couple minutes.